What's up everyone, John from Beyond ARTV. It's time for another episode of 7 on Sunday because it's Sunday. Obviously, last time I checked, we're gonna have a brand new episode every single Sunday, and today we're gonna be talking about 7 badass female-fronted bands. Thanks so much for being here, dropping a like on the video, subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because friends, don't let friends go and subscribe, so make sure you're informed of whenever I upload not only new 7 on Sundays, but all the other cool videos that I do on this channel. I want to preface this video by saying I'm a little bit biased towards the female voice. I love it and I feel like it sells emotion a little bit better than the male voice a lot of the time, and not saying that males don't do it. Obviously there's a ton of bands and a ton of crooners and whoever it may be, there's a lot of bands that can bring emotion. I just want to call out these bands because I really enjoy them. I wish there were more females, especially in the world of like rock, alternative, metal, whatever it may be. I love hearing their voices in that style of music. Obviously we hear them on the pop market all the time, and I don't need to give these bands more empowerment, give them a little pat on the back. That's not what I'm here to do. These bands are already empowered without me. I'm just calling them out because they make great music. Let's go ahead and start off the countdown. I hope you have your time machine ready because we're going all the way back to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s until now. Honestly, Heart have been so consistent. They're a duo. They didn't put out that many albums for a while, but they have put one out as recently as like 2012, 2013, which was still a very solid release. I didn't give it a review, but I probably should have. I really mainly know the album Dreamboat Annie. That's the one that I'm most familiar with, along with a lot of their singles over the years, and I have to say that there's a reason why people commend them so much. They put out this like crazy emotional music over like hard rock, alternative leaning feels, and their sound has evolved over time. Obviously they haven't really moved with the trends, but they've obviously kind of upgraded, wanted to do new things, but I think that they have a very powerful and unique sound. They move you with their music, and obviously if you've heard singles, if you ever played like Guitar Hero back in the day, or even Rock Band, you've probably heard a couple of their songs like Crazy on You, and obviously, ooh, Barracuda. What I'm getting at is give Heart a chance. Maybe it won't be your cup of tea right off the bat, but maybe ask your parents or a relative, a grandparent about it a little bit more. They might know some more, have some insight to their music, and who knows, you could develop a new connection. We'll see more about this a few more spots up the list. Okay, you can brush off the dust from the time machine. We're back in the modern era now. LUCIUS are the next band up on the list. There's 2 female singers in this band, Holly and Jess, and they sound phenomenal together. In fact, whenever their voices pair up, they're not sisters, they look alike, they sound similar, but they complement each other so much. It reminds me of Tegan and Sarah in a way. I actually got hooked after I heard the song off of their album Will to Woman called Turn It Around. I think it's a fantastic, such a catchy jam, and in fact I still rock out to it all the time. I checked out the record, the title track, fantastic. There's so many good songs on here, Nothing Ordinary, and of course all the way up until its closer, How Loud Your Heart Gets. It's just such a grower. It builds and builds in momentum, and it's just an absolute sweet note to go out on. In fact, I like that album so much that I ended up picking up their record Good Grief. I never gave this a review. A lot of you guys were asking for it, so and time for like a little mini review here. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this project, although not quite as much as Will to Woman. It's still a very solid release. There were a few tracks on here that weren't exactly getting the job done for me, and in fact I did grow with some of these tracks a little bit more, especially like Gone Insane, after I saw the absolutely crazy music video that took them forever to do. You saw the little preview for it here playing. Whoa! Who dedicates that much time to a music video anymore? That just goes to show you this band's working technique and how well these singers perform together, the emotion that they bring to these tracks. I definitely give a recommendation to this. There's a lot of catchy songs on here, a lot of fun songs on here. Once again, I mean, you see that right off the bat with Madness, and I would have to say my absolute favorite track on here would have to be Wish for Rain. Either that or Almighty Gosh, just 2 very well-built songs that aren't like your ordinary pop alternative crossover tracks. They actually have kind of a heart and a depth through them, especially on an instrumental level. So I highly recommend you guys go check out LUCIUS.
When the sky's darling, once in a million years, a lady like a horizon. Rihanna, you cry, but she's gone and
If you're not familiar with the band, the myth, the legend, Fleetwood Mac, then you're probably living under a rock, or else you're pretty young, and that's okay. It's not inexcusable or anything like that. Maybe you've just never heard of them. Fleetwood Mac play an awesome style, a nice blend of like pop, folk sometimes, and just like alternative feels, like mixed in with obviously the nostalgia of like the 70s, because that's really the era that they took off in. The 60s were when they were formed. Obviously you've got like Stevie Nicks, Christy McVie on the vocals, and Lindsey Buckingham singing some of the time. Of course, that is actually a male. The name might not imply that, but Lindsey is actually the guitarist of the group, sings as well, and they sound nice whenever they're all together. Of course, Stevie Nicks is probably the most famous, the most well-known member of this band, and for good reason. She has a very solid voice that until this day still sounds pretty good. I mean, some of the people at her live shows will say that she sounds a little flat, but you have to remember she's like getting on up there in age, like 60s, 70s, and you can't press yourself too hard, especially whenever you're that age and you've been singing your entire life. Fleetwood Mac, like I was saying, have a couple of classic records that have obviously sold a ton of copies in the US and worldwide. Rumors just exploded. I actually have a copy of it over here on my shelf. It's actually an original copy, I believe, one of the original pressings. Not like that's rare or anything like that, but I found it at a used record store. Thought it was pretty cool to have an old one like that that's just existed for so long. Who knows who played that record? Who knows how it got to where it is now? Stuff like that really intrigues me, and if you've never listened to Fleetwood Mac, I have to say that I recommend doing so, especially if you've been looking to get into classic rock. The Yeah Yeah Yeahs have a special place down in my heart because it's one of those songs from my early teenage years, one of my most formative times in music, just kind of falling in love with it. They had a couple of songs that really just stuck with me, and obviously Maps is probably the one that everyone knows. It's considered one of the defining songs of the 2000s, for Christ's sake. And of course, their single Gold Lion, which I think is an even better song. I mean, Maps is great in and of itself. I've actually never gotten sick of that track. I think there's so much emotion packed in, and you can just see Karen O coming through. She's just so nervous behind the mic, it seems like, but at the same time she has a big message to get out, and she's got a big heart on that track. And obviously with singles like Gold Lion, they show off a little bit more of their alternative side. Was a fantastic release that gets overlooked by so many people. A lot of short sucker punch styled tracks, and if you're looking for more of the stuff like Maps, I mean, look to their debut album that came out in 2003. I realize I misspoke a second ago, that's why I had to censor myself there and put it up on screen. Show Your Bones was their 2006 release. That was actually the first album that I owned by them. That's the one I was kind of referring to with all of those short and sweet tracks on it. And then 2003 being that debut, Fever to Tell. They've been pretty consistent throughout their career, although they do mix it up and they've gone in more electronic stylings. I was not a fan of their last record, Mosquito. Kind of a weird release. The album before that I was totally down with. There were some 80s stylings on there if you listen to like Y Control, and obviously the huge single Heads Will Roll, a fantastic song that in and of its own right is a little bit different, but it begs to be played again and again.
And all I wanted was a simple thing, a simple kind of life. And all I needed was a simple man, so I could be a wife.
Oh, it's a beautiful record. You guys are probably pretty familiar with Gwen Stefani, but did you know that she was in an awesome band that's about 100 million times better than any of the solo stuff she's released? Yeah, No Doubt. That's a thing. No Doubt started in the 90s. Gwen Stefani took over as the primary lyricist for this band in like 1995, 1996. After her brother, I believe it was, left the band, she took over handling all of that stuff. And on her debut album as the lyricist, she absolutely killed it. Tragic Kingdom is a classic. I reviewed it earlier this year, and there's so many moments on there that are just different, but at the same time played with ska, pop, alternative rock, and there's a reason that people come back to it and talk about it to this day. Even some of their follow-up records were great as well, like Rock Steady, which saw them going in much more of a pop direction, but at the same time, still a ton of great jams on that. Obviously, Hella Good I play pretty consistently to this day. There's a lot of underrated songs on that record, and of course, their most criminally underrated project to date, Return to Saturn. In the late 90s and early 2000s, No Doubt were the go-to female-fronted band. They were blowing up, they were all over the charts, but of course, course, Gwen Stefani just had to go and ruin it all by going solo. And not that all of her solo stuff, at least initially, was that terrible. Her comeback record was pretty awful, and No Doubt's kind of suffered as a result of that. I'm not exactly sure what No Doubt's future is at this point. The members, except for Gwen Stefani, are doing a project with AFI's Davey Havok, which could be very, very cool. Could also be very, very weird. I'm not sure. Their comeback record in 2012 kind of bombed. Not necessarily bombed, but it didn't really have any huge hit singles on it. It sold pretty well, at least in its first few weeks. Push and Shove was the name of that record, and I was pretty disappointed with it at the time it came out. It came out in a very busy season, never even gave it a review, but if I had to go back and do it again, I probably would. I overlooked some of the tracks on there because there are some fantastic ones, like the lead single, Settle Down.
You better hide, hide. I burned your bridges. I will be a gun, and it's you I'll come for. Hide, hide. Now it's all so easy. I will be a gun, and it's you I'll come for.
The final two on my list, you might be able to guess. Obviously, Church is clocking in at number 2, and I'm going to try and keep both of these pretty short because you guys probably know how much I love both of them. Churches play synth pop, electronic music, Lauren Mayberry being the lead singer. I'm just obsessed with her vocal style. It's perfect. Even seeing her live, just being like there front row, having the photo pass, I was just like right there. I was like, yeah, all right, sing, keep me on your side to me, please. You're just singing to me. I'll take that. This Scottish trio is so talented. Their songs are massive, sound so good live, in the car, wherever you may be, spinning it on vinyl. I have both of the records. I love my clear copy of Every Open Eye. It's such a good record. It just improved upon the bones of What You Believe. That was a good record, such a solid record. In fact, a great record that I've come back to more and more with time. Obviously, The Mother We Share being my favorite song of 2013. They just built and improved upon that in every single way. Lauren Mayberry, just a huge advocate for women's right and just standing up for yourself, not taking any shit from anyone. Leave a Trace was a huge example of that, the lead single from Every Open Eye. These guys you have to give a shot. If you haven't, you're into alternative, electronic, and pop music, these guys are going to be your new go-to. Shall I pull down all of the Paramore vinyl to prove my love for them? I watched Paramore grow up with me. It was a great thing to see, although there was a lot of tension within the band. Obviously, Brand New Eyes being a very, very tough time, but it's so cool to see Zach Farrow, the original drummer for this group, coming back recording drums for their new, as of yet untitled record that should be coming out hopefully in the fall or early next year. I cannot wait for that. Seriously, their self-titled was so damn good, and it's like this band just keeps getting better and better. How do you do that? All We Know Is Falling, pretty solid and standard release. I'm not that into that one. Obviously, Riot just improved upon that, took those pop punk and alternative rock elements and made it very, very relatable, but in the same way, they seemed a lot older than they were whenever they recorded that record. And then with Brand New Eyes, totally blowing it out of the water, setting the bar so, so high, and I'm like, how do you top that? How do you come back with a record that's going to do anything better or that different that could be better than this record? And then the self-titled drops, and it's just like a bomb, and they walk out of the room. 17 tracks on the self-titled, 2 members, and you're putting out an album this damn good. I can't wait to see what the new LP is going to be. Hayley Williams is an insanely talented vocalist. She's so good live. It almost sounds like studio, just like Lauren Mayberry. They actually did a song together, Bury It, which wasn't phenomenal by any means. I thought it would have been better. It felt a little bit more limited and standard than I would have wanted it to, but hey, I'm not that disappointed or let down. Maybe they'll do something completely new and original, write it in the studio together, and it'll sound great. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of 7 on Sunday that focused on 7 badass female-fronted bands. If you did, drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel because friends don't let friends go unsubscribed. You can check out the 7 on Sunday playlist and catch up on past episodes by clicking that link in the description. The whole playlist is there. There's a lot of cool episodes. Definitely don't want to miss out on those. You can see the most recent episode or a recent review that I did on my main channel in those little annotations that are floating directly below me. Other than that, I will see you guys very soon right here on Beyond ARTV.